So, there we go. It is a side-by-side comparison of the 2006 Classics Optimus and the Age of Extinction Optimus, which just came out this year. And for all the people who complain about the downsizing of Transformers, it doesn't seem to be a universal rule. As you can see, the new Optimus is just a little bit taller than the Classics. Although the new Optimus is significantly lighter, I think it's because of a more efficient use of parts. Although it is good to know that just because they're re-releasing an older figure, they didn't cheap out on him. They didn't like use half as much plastic as they did in the original run. He's every bit as dense and heavy as a Classics figure should be. So, the format of this video. I think the best thing to do right now would be to first talk about a comparison between the original run of Evasion Optimus plus this re-release of the mold and compare and contrast them. Then I can spend the rest of the time gushing about the awesomeness that is Classics Optimus. So let's take a look at these two Optimus Primes. What is their biggest contrast? Well, I'm guessing you're probably noticing the difference in their paint deco. As you can see, the Evasion Mode Optimus has blue feet, this guy has silver feet. He has the flame deco on his inner thighs, while this guy is all blue. He has some pale dark gray to be his metal parts, while this guy has a much lighter gray plus some silver highlights. And he has small details like those lights are on his belt line picked out, which they are not here. And he has some silver and blue stripes on his chest. I think they are there to be evocative of the silver and blue stripes that he has in the movie once he changes alt modes, but I don't like them. They break up his color scheme. This guy has a plain red chest, and that's the way it should be. So yeah, even though that's more color, it's more color in a place that I don't like it. He also has the blue shoulders and biceps, which is the same problem that this guy had, although I have since repainted it. You can bet that first chance I'll get, I'll be repainting those too. I'm going to be repainting that chest, because that is really distracting. The gun. Evasion Mode Optimus's gun was that same dull gray color, which actually made it look more like Megatron's shotgun. Actually, it is Megatron's shotgun. It's still Megatron's shotgun, but at least it's colored black, so it looks more like Optimus's gun. It's at least the right color. And, small detail up here. Come on, come on. You can do it. You can do it, camera. Come on, that's face. Yes, there we go. This Optimus still doesn't have the faceplate. He should have the faceplate because he looks so much better with the faceplate. But at least they painted his eyes blue, in addition to painting his face a more vibrant silver and picking out the smokestacks next to his head in silver paint. As you remember, this guy, he just has these clear white optics, which makes his eyes look pretty dead, and the smokestacks next to his head aren't picked out. So, yeah, in robot mode, they seem to have put a little bit more attention to his paint deco, and it is objectively more detailed and they put more effort into it. The only things that I could say negative about it are my personal preferences. Like, I don't like the blue parts on the chest, and I never was a fan of the flame job. But they at least put more effort. Considering that this is a 2-pack, which contains figures that almost any Transformers fan would already own, a premium paint job is really one of the only draws that they could do to make people buy this set. Well, that and people who might have held back on buying the original release, hoping, because they heard that this 2-pack was coming out. Alright, I already did a review of this mold before, so I'm not going to talk about articulation or anything. So let's get on to the Classics Optimus, a figure that I've been wanting for like almost 8 years. So as you know, one of my pet peeves about the Age of Extinction Optimus Prime was that the robot mode was what was packaged in the box. He was in the box in robot mode. The instructions started in vehicle mode and went to robot mode. I mean, theoretically, you're supposed to be able to follow this in reverse order, but, you know, it just made it kind of hard and unintuitive because all the arrows are pointing the wrong way. At least here, the instructions are actually printed from the robot mode to the vehicle mode, so you get a better feel for the order of operations and how parts are supposed to move. They're just a little bit hard to read because they're in black and white. This is so weird. And no, those highlighted red parts aren't the only things that move. Like here, where they show you moving the arms, you're supposed to move like the shoulder pivot point there, not just the arms, so they should have just printed the instructions in color. That's what I'm getting at. But, you know, at least they put it in the right way. The toy is packaged in robot mode, so the instructions go from robot to vehicle. And if you have a hard time doing reverse, if you have the original, at least you have these. And the same is true for the Classics Optimus. Starts out in robot mode, ends up in vehicle mode. Like, this should be a universal thing. Whatever mode the toy is packaged in, that should be step 1, and then the last step should be the other mode. Yeah. So here he is, Classics Optimus. Oh, this figure is almost legendary. It was an Optimus Prime not particularly attached to any cartoon series or game or anything. This is the Optimus that they made when they said, let's just try and modernize the look of the G1 Optimus and make him sleeker and more heroic looking with modernized articulation. And that's all he is. He is as close to vintage Optimus as they could manage at the time. Now, he is showing a little bit of his age with the engineering, although he still holds up pretty well. He's dense and heavy, like I mentioned before, and they even did some chrome detailing on his legs and crotch, which is really good. They didn't do it up here, I think because he's probably rubbed against more things and they don't show in vehicle mode anyway, but, you know, I appreciate the effort. What I was saying about his engineering showing a bit is the blatant side panel kibble that comes off his arms. Yeah, that's kind of huge, and it moves around. If it had, it would be perfect, and I would have absolutely no issue with it if it only had even a weak peg in position. Like if there was just a small detent here to give us something to grip onto, so that it wouldn't just spin out of the way when I'm trying to pose his arm. So if there was just the slightest detent there to keep it locked in this position in any way, then I would not have minded at all. As it is, it's a little minor thing. You can always think of it as like Optimus Prime has a built-in shield. That's kind of cool. And it is articulated. Besides spinning, it also comes out and like this, so you can even kind of come up with the idea that it's like a bladed weapon on his shoulder, like fwah, fwah. You know, like Arcee's forearm blades in Transformers Prime, except that it's a truck door, so it has a lot more mass behind it, even if it isn't as sharp. Could kind of think of it more as a bludgeoning device then. Another thing, he kind of has this big chunk of kibble on his back. In vehicle mode, this is the windbreaker that to put on the roof of the car. It hides his face in robot mode, in vehicle mode, because without this, his face is just going to be peeking out the top of the cab. Although, to its credit, Optimus can transform without parts forming this thing. It's on this articulated thing that goes up over his head, and it's all fine and dandy. Although it is just pegged in. This Optimus, he does the thing, what's left over? when you take it off, what's left over is very little kibble. It's just the truck's grill and the rear bumper. But the wheels, after a fashion, they still end up on his hips. I mean, they're not really on his thighs like on the Age of Extinction Optimus, but they're in pretty much the right place where they should be. So, you know, kudos to that. And, you know, this, with the windbreaker taken off his back, he looks great. He looks fine. He looks like Optimus Prime ought to look. There is nothing wrong with this look. I love it. Oh my god, where has this thing been all my life? Anyway, enough gushing. We're talking about this thing. It transforms. It becomes a secondary weapon. So you fold it down like that. You fold this up like this. You fold this out like that. And it becomes a big old cannon. Cannon with a peg hole that fits into his hand. And I noticed something about this Optimus. He doesn't have a wrist swivel. That's, aw, no wrist swivel. That kind of sucks. And there we have BFG. It's kind of heavy, overrides the shoulder joint a little bit. He can still manage to hold it up if you position his arm right. I don't know, it's kind of big, it blends into his forearm. I don't know, it seems like they just... well, I guess they just didn't want to end up with a piece of kibble, so they gave it a purpose. Like, if they wanted to be lazy, they could have just said, and then you take the windbreaker off, and it becomes a shield for his alt mode. But doesn't he already have these two huge things on his arms that they're gonna say are shields already? Oh, darn. Alright, screw it. We'll make it transform too. Then it's a secondary weapon and people won't complain. Yeah, can you imagine Hasbro bothering to do that today? I don't think so. If this toy were made today, this would be a solid piece that clips onto his back, and you would remove it to make him look better, but then it would just be a thing. So this is something that would not have been made today. They just wouldn't have it budgeted to do all that stuff. Of course, Optimus does have a primary weapon. You're seeing it right now on the leftish side of the screen. It is his gun, which looks a lot better in his hand than the shotgun that Age of Extinction Optimus comes with. Ooh, Shimama, this is a boomstick. And you know what? It also transforms. Yeah. So you take it off. It splits in half down the middle. You fold the stocks up into it like that. Fold this in, and it's the smokestacks for his truck mode. And then he has a feature that there's pegs on the smokestacks, which peg here onto the windbreaker. Once you line them up, that is. Yeah, so that one goes there, and that one goes there. There, peg in. Yeah. And then, when you put it back onto his back, yeah, it pops off. Hey, come on, get on there so I can show them the last thing that Optimus does that makes him cool. Come on. Get on there. Okay, so with the smokestack sticking up that high, he looks a little bit ridiculous. Like, I don't know what that is. Yeah, it kind of makes him look like Galactus. But then you have this cool over-the-shoulder cannon thing. That's kind of nifty. That way Optimus can punch you repeatedly while he shoots you. Or he can punch someone close up while shooting someone farther away. That's cool. That's very cool. This Optimus has a lot of play value. I like that. Yeah, 2006 was a good year for making toys that had a lot more play value. Nowadays they have great display value, but not so much play. Some toys are still fun to play with, but you gotta admit, like, they don't feel this chunk. As soon as I talk about how chunky, solid, and more durable these things feel, a part comes off. It's okay, it's a simple How the heck did this even work? Oh, I see. It's a simple pegging hole. There, I fixed it. No big. So yeah, this is so unbelievably cool. He's denser. He's heavier. He has more accessories and moving thingies on him, and that's just wonderful. So I can see why this is one of the definitive Optimus Primes for a lot of people, because he is really, in almost any way I can think of, just a fantastic Optimus. And yes, look at his face. Look at his face. The yellow optics, the mouth plate, the shape of it. This is the face of Optimus Prime. No one will ever doubt that. It's not some big old nose, sad, wrinkly old man. It is Optimus Prime. And that is fantastic. I love it. So let's do a quick breakdown of his articulation. You saw all the moving parts on his back for the windbreaker thingy, which I'm going to peg off because my hand keeps on clipping it. So, his head, it rotates. Not ball jointed, rotates. Although because of a transformation joint, he can kind of look down. So, yeah. Yes, you can have him looking down to talk to humans or something. Shoulders. There's a swivel here. There's a swivel here. A swivel here. Pretty much accomplishing everything that a universal or ball joint does. He has an elbow, which is slightly ratcheted and bends 90 degrees. And it can bend both directions. That's to accommodate his truck mode transformation. The wrist does not move. Nope. The only way it moves is when you get this out of the way, then it moves to transform back into his forearm. So the hands are not designed to move for posing purposes. He has two waist joints. The first waist joint is up here in his torso. It's a transformation joint. Like, when it turns around, his pecs become the cab windows for the truck mode. And then you turn him back, and then he has a secondary grill that shrinks away. So I guess every Optimus seems to need to have a cheat for that, to get that little grill ab thing going. Because Age of Extinction Optimus actually has the grill form his abs, but then you have to like fold fake windows for his chest. This one, the chest is real, but the abs are fake. And he has his proper waist joint below that, which is harder to move, but it's there. The legs. The legs' feet are designed to stand flat, so if you get him out into a heroic A stance, then his feet aren't flat on the floor. But you know, it's fine. He has these big wide boots, so you don't have to worry about him like falling over because his feet don't sit right. Legs. They go all the way forward and all the way outwards on universal joints. Knee bends just a little bit past 90 degrees, which is awesome. The knee pad is articulated. And he has a thigh swivel. Well, just above the knee swivel, but it performs the same purpose that a thigh swivel would do. And the foot only has a transformation only has an articulation point for its transformation. But that's fine. Like I said, this was 2006 and ankle rockers were not yet the norm. But it doesn't matter because Optimus Prime is still king of the Transformers. Like this is such a great iconic mold. All these years I've been trying to find the perfect iconic Optimus for my collection. I kept on finding nitpicks or reasons to pass on some Optimus or another, but the truth is that it was always there. It was this Classics Optimus. The only reason I couldn't get this Classics Optimus is because he wasn't available at retail until now with this re-release. So yes, this Optimus is just so iconic. It is damn near perfect for Optimus Prime. Of the if you're really trying to capture the original 1980s Optimus Prime and you want that for your collection, then this is the Optimus for you. There are so many more Optimus Prime toys for the movies, for the various cartoons, but if you like the original Optimus, then this is your boy. You want him. So here is the Classics Optimus with the Age of Extinction Optimus side by side in vehicle mode. As you would guess, the Classics version is significantly heavier and denser because he uses a lot thicker plastic panels, while this one is made a lot more lightweight. And they both do a pretty decent job. In the Classics, you can see the feet stick out a bit more, and some of the panel gaps are slightly more obvious. But it's still a really great truck mode. Although you gotta love the absolute great shape of the original truck that this one manages to capture. Although, I gotta say, in terms of the decos, I'm still not a fan of the flame job. I'm sorry, if anyone's a huge fan of Optimus and his movie design, I'm sorry, I was never a fan of the flames. Optimus is supposed to be like a robot Superman, you know? The simplicity of his deco is part of what makes him so cool. So, going with this gaudy flame job just seems tacky. Of course, he says the yellow on the front, and a much more vibrant silver. I like that. Of course, even though he's done with a more vibrant silver paint, this guy is full on chrome. Look at that. That is pretty spectacular. That's awesome. And it's on his hips too, but yeah, you saw that in robot mode. I like that. Also, if you look in the front windows, whoop, whoop, look, there's chairs and a steering wheel there. That's nifty. Of course, Classics Optimus does something that I don't like. It's a remnant of the 2006 engineering, and despite this being a pet peeve, it still manages to sneak its way into some of my favorite Transformers. An important part of the vehicle mode pegs off to become the robot mode weapon. Yeah, this thing. I mean, you think at first, what, the truck doesn't look so messed up with that missing? Oh, hi there. Yeah. For completion's sake, I wanted to see the new Age of Extinction Optimus next to the original release. Because the whole appeal of this release is that he's supposed to have a better paint job. So I just want to give a quick comparison to see how that's true. Well, the deco is of course something you're going to have to get past, because this guy, he has the original stripe and the all blue legs. I mean, that's just a deco that I personally like. This one, he has the flame job deco and the silver feet. So if you know, that's a subjective part. So if you prefer the deco, that's not what counts. However, there are some flubs here and there. Take a note here. The windows on this Optimus and his mirrors are not painted. They're stuck in the red that the cab is. On here, they are painted. Oh. So what was that about your superior paint job, Optimus? Oh dear. This Optimus has the yellow parts on his bumper picked out, where this one doesn't. Okay, point to you. And well, let's take a close look. I mean, isn't that kind of, look at the bumper and grille on this guy, which is done in that flat, darker gray. While on here, it's done in this much brighter silver. I gotta admit, I like that more vibrant color. It really makes the figure come to life. So I do like that part. Of course, I'm going to have to take my own paintbrush to those mirrors and side windows, because I really don't like them being all incorrectly colored like that. Yeah, there's your supposedly premium paint job. I improved on it for you. Seriously, how could they forget to paint those windows in? I mean, a lot of people complain that this figure looked unpainted, but they put the windows in. Well, now mine has windows. Although, I do not like those blue parts. Why the hell did they make them blue? This guy had it right. Optimus has a plain red chest. So, why is that blue? Why blue? I don't know why that's supposed to be blue. I mean, is it supposed to be like when Optimus later on in the movie gets his new body, he has those blue stripes on his chest? Because they're not the right shape. They're not in the right place. Well, time to get the old paintbrush out again. Alright, we knew we'd have to conclude it this way. I repainted the Optimus to be more pleasing to mine own eyes. Yep, so in case it's not obvious, his biceps are now silver, his shoulder pads are now red, same thing I did to my first Optimus, and I repainted his chest, giving him silver windows to match the other painted windows, which I painted, and I left a little spot of blue there, but for the most part, the front of his chest is now red with silver highlights. Headlights, not highlights, headlights. And you know what? Even though this gun is painted the right color, I still like the way that Transformers Prime Arcee's gun looks in his hand. This gun looks way more like Optimus Prime's gun than this shotgun thing. So, off with that. Beep. And now I have an Age of Extinction Optimus that I can be proud of.